Hey, my name is Evan Ehlers, and this is my persuasive speech, and this is my audience who is going to be viewing me and helping me with it. Okay, so get that to you. Am I in view of the camera?
You are?
Okay, cool. We are facing an unprecedented threat for the next, or assault on the next generation. Every single day, children around the globe are being exposed to explicit material that's distorting and perverting their perception of themselves, their relationships, and those around them. Frustratingly, there's very little that's adequately standing in the way of this, leaving them vulnerable. WebRoot, an article which has consolidated materials from studies on this particular subject, has found that every single day in the United States alone, 37 pornographic videos are produced. Every single day, once again, 68 million web searches are pornographically related. And 68 million searches is about 25% of all internet inquiries. What we need to do before we begin is to understand what internet pornography is. Internet pornography is not the pornography of old. The Playboy of yesteryear is soft-core pornography by today's standards. When a child stumbles onto a popular porn site, what they are met with are such categories as, but not limited to, gang rapes, sexual exploitations, rape and murder play, sexual assaults, incest, orgies, bestiality, and more. These are not the things that take place on a dark corner of an obscure pornographic site. These are the categories that are posted on the home page of the popular porn sites that children most commonly stumble into. Now, this distinction is very important for two reasons. A study from the Middlesex University in the United Kingdom has shown that parents who know that their children are watching pornography allow it because they think it's a growing opportunity for them to learn about sex, as relating it to their own childhood when they discovered their parents' magazines or photographs. This comparison is a dangerously disproportionate comparison, however, due to the gross misunderstanding of the modern material. Secondly, these same parents, as well as advocates of adolescent access to pornography, have claimed that not only is it necessary for sexual education, but it's good for them. Now, allow me to posit the idea that a child watching a gang rape is not a valid form of sexual education. And contrary to the beliefs of these parents and these critics of pornographic restrictions, the materials absorbed, especially at such an adolescent and receptive age, sticks with these children, perverting their views of the world, and sticks with them for years and distorting their own future relationships and intimacies. And a study conducted by the British Board of Film Classification, it was found that of the age group 7 to 13-year-olds, a majority of them were traumatized by violent materials that they were exposed to by mistake on the internet. And a slightly older age group, with respondents aging from 16 to 17, found that 65% of these respondents were dissatisfied when they finally did have intercourse because it was less than what porn had conditioned them for. So naturally, the boys in the study were aggressive and forceful towards their partners in an attempt to recreate what they had already been seeing or what they had conditioned themselves to think sex was. The girls repeatedly had to ask their partners to be gentler, but were in fear that their response would be responded to or ignored or responded to with even greater force, because that's what happens in pornography. The important distinction to make here, really, is that the boys who are looking to create what they've seen and conditioned themselves for, who feel inadequate to pleasure their partner, push the envelope, and the girls seeking to be a good partner subject themselves to more intense and violent forms of intercourse. Both are compromised, and neither are satisfied. Now, literature similar to the subject has found that this kind of activity has resulted in promiscuity and accelerated sexual experience in terms of sexual intercourse with multiple partners, sexual experimentation, sexual aggression, and these things, of course, have caused youth STDs and youth pregnancies to rise, according to the CDC. What makes this even more disturbing, however, is that the issues of pornography are not only just things that are left in the bedroom, but it carries over into the real world. Other literature has found that it correlates with depression, anxiety, apathy, lack of interest, objectification of prospective sexual partners, which has, of course, in turn led to self-loathing, self-harm, and suicide. Now, this is important because this is the reality that we set our children up for when we refuse and neglect to act in their defense. So where then can we start? Well, the first thing we need to realize is what makes it so threatening to children is its ease of accessibility. One commentator has stated that trying to quit pornography is like trying to stop smoking with a pack of 12-pack cigarettes in your pocket at all times. It is in your home, and it is on your phone, a stark contrast with the drugs on the street. And in the ignorance and negligence of society's response to it, the porn industry has been allowed to flourish into a multi-billion-dollar industry that produces millions and millions of videos, pictures, chat rooms, websites, applications, and more, all for the express purpose of enticing the desperate, the curious, the lost, and the developing into their folds. Though search engines and browsers have instituted programs such as maturity filters and parental controls to combat this, this response is only limited compared to the sheer scope of the reach of the pornographic industry. That said, we must respond by going directly to the source, by applying restrictions to the distributors of these pornographic sites, requiring age verification through federal or state ID, as is done with distributors of firearms, cigarettes, alcohol, pharmaceuticals, and even in-store pornography. By doing this, those who refuse to adhere to these restrictions would be fined heavily or removed from or disqualified from being able to produce or distribute this material, as is done with the aforementioned producers and distributors of the other materials that I just mentioned. We need to go to the source, and this is just one way that we can respond. This would also prevent any children that don't have a valid state ID from accessing this pornography by default. This is a place to start, but it is imperative that we start somewhere and keep moving, because each day, make no mistake, the minds and the hearts and the futures of children are on the line. And we as the present generation have a responsibility to protect them from that thing which has been feeding on them since they were infants.